Everybody, Professor Doom here. So I want to cover this story about Mr. Senator Doug Larsen from North Dakota, whose plane went down, killing him and his wife, 2 children. And we're going to take a look at something he said on the Senate floor regarding his position for the debate on a bill to disallow the mRNA arm pokes in the state of North Dakota. This was back in February. Before we get into this, though, I want to explain to everybody where I've been for the past week and a half. I haven't posted anything because I have been diving deep into a rabbit hole regarding the whole story surrounding Mr. Danny Casolaro, the octopus story, the connections with the Franklin cover-up sex trafficking, the child sex trafficking ring. You guys remember that story? Who was all involved in that? Yes, Mr. CIA Director William Casey, who was involved in the whole octopus story, the Iran-Contra, Oliver North, William Casey. I found some linkage with a couple of CIA individuals back from the 70s, a station chief out of Greece, a naval attaché member, and the reason why I chose to spoke up on this story right here with Mr. Doug Larsen, a plane going down. Do you guys remember flight TWA 800? Do you remember how the CIA and the Navy were involved in basically taking over the investigation from the NTSB? That's right. It was the Navy that went down there to retrieve all of the flight debris. And it was the CIA that came out with this illusion story that people who saw a missile being fired at the plane, how it could be misunderstood as an optical illusion. Look at the players involved, and you will see that there is definitely some kind of linkage there, especially when one of the people that was on that plane had a very important position within the Navy. Now, so Mr. Larsen, as I stated, Mr. Senator Doug Larsen had spoke out about his reasoning for wanting to pass a bill that would disallow any more mRNA arm pokes in the state of North Dakota back in February, and this is what he had to say on the Senate floor.
Last night I had the pleasure of sitting down with a friend of mine who had about a year ago had died. I'd never had a chance to sit down with somebody that had been dead before. And I found it interesting when he explained what it was like to wake up in the hospital after being dead, and the doctor coming up and shaking his hand and saying, "You are the first person that I've ever gotten to shake the hand of that had suffered from cardiac death, instant cardiac death. Not arrest, but death." They spoke for a moment, and he said, I have one question for you. And he'd asked him if he'd ever been vaccinated, specifically to the COVID piece. It was an interesting conversation to have. A year prior to that happening, he had told me that he had no sympathy for the unvaccinated. We talked about that last night, and he said, "I've always reserved the right to change my mind." So I think it's a good study.